people are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Do not come. Do not come.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, our Sunday night shit show, which is always embarrassing to announce when we have special guests, but we are nothing if not stuck to our routines. So the Sunday night shit show. How are you, Pat? Good to see you.
I am just happy to not be working and slaving away as a worker bee in this economy for the day.
I hear you. We're so excited about our guest, so we want to get in with her quickly, but we wanted to start off on a joyous note, as we try to do before we descend into the reality of our lives. And once again, Italians showing how it's done with worker solidarity and joy in the streets of Naples. This will be the one true moment of joy we probably share before we delve into everything. So, bella ciao. Truly speaks to the power of worker solidarity that they have gotten fascist Giorgia Meloni to send a naval ship to accompany the flotilla. So cheers to them. Cheers to them. And without further ado, we would love to bring on our guest today, the four-time Socialist City Council member from Seattle, who is now running for U.S. Congress in Washington State to defeat genocidal maniac Adam Smith. Welcome, Ms. Kshama Sawant.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. We are longtime fans. We have so many questions, but first we are thrilled to see you running for U.S. Congress to bring your magic to the whole country. How is that going? How are you feeling? Is Smith quaking in his boots because he sees what real opposition looks like?
First of all, thanks so much for starting this show with that absolutely inspiring clip of workers singing Bella Ciao. It's really heartwarming because it's exactly what's needed. Workers going on strike, and our campaign for Congress is very much rooted in that idea of building mass movements. In fact, everything that we won in Seattle through my decade on the Seattle City Council is absolutely about movement building politics. And I think that is exactly also why this congressional campaign we're running is so crucial. And the thing that gets the ruling class and their representatives quaking in their boots is exactly that kind of collective organized power of the working class. And yes, they are extremely fearful of the potential of what could happen in the US Congress if we won. And because we have an actual chance of winning. But I'm really thankful to you both, Pat and Lila, for covering this campaign on your show, because we have the chance to win, but it's never an automatic. We are up against the entire might of the capitalist class, the Zionist lobby, the weapons manufacturers, the entire might of billionaires and multimillionaires. And the only way we have won in the past, it's always been this way. The only way we won in the past is tens of thousands of working class people getting together and actually fighting to win. And it's the same this time. We have a real shot to win, but to turn it into a reality, we will need tens of thousands of people nationally as well, because this is a national campaign. And I think one of the things that they are fearful, the ruling class is fearful about, and Adam Smith himself, my opponent, are very much afraid about is that a lot of working people understand that this is a national campaign. It's not just a campaign for this district, because it's a question of the potential of what we can achieve if we are able to elect a revolutionary socialist like myself into office. And we have a whole decade of track record to see this. I haven't come from nowhere. We have a whole 10 years of track record on the Seattle City Council. And actually already in this campaign, we are seeing the impact of our approach of movement building, using a movement building strategy to run an election campaign. So just to give a quick rundown of how our campaign is doing, we launched the campaign in early June. And within a month, we had more individual donors than Adam Smith had in his entire election year last year. Our median donation is $25. His median donation last year was $1,000. It shows you the real difference between what a campaign that is bankrolled by billionaires and insurance and big pharma and Palantir and APAC looks like versus an anti-war, pro-worker, working class campaign. What that campaign looks like, it's a night and day difference. But it is possible to run this campaign in this way and really make it a viable campaign. So, we have raised now, I believe, close to $230,000, and which is enormous. And we have donations from all 50 states plus DC and Puerto Rico. And our campaign, I'll just close on this, our campaign is calling for an end to the genocide, an end to all US military funding to the Israeli state, and an end to the brutal Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands. We're also calling for free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the rich, for national rent control, and for a $25 an hour national federal minimum wage, which should actually be 30 plus in major cities.
Tied to inflation, I think, was also part of it, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder, do you feel like all of the AOC left Democrats have kind of done some damage in a way to nationalizing your movement in a sense? Because there are a lot of disillusioned people that donated nationally to like Bernie and AOC for their local campaigns. And I know you're doing great. And I think you're getting that support still, regardless of that, because you've got the bona fides of 10 years of being an actual socialist, and you never have caved to the party. But do you think we all agree probably here that the inside outside strategy doesn't really work within the Democratic Party anymore. But can you speak to how that has affected your campaign in your mind?
Yeah, just to clarify also, I'm glad you brought that up, Pat. In reality, such a thing as an inside outside strategy in favor of the working class, that's always been a mythology. It's never been a thing for the working class. It's just it's a kind of snake oil that all the movement gatekeepers against the movement use for working people, to hoodwink working people into thinking that, oh yeah, you can actually win something substantive for the working class and for poor people from within the Democratic Party, but he actually cannot. And it's not a coincidence that I am running as an independent socialist against a Democrat. And obviously I'm against the Democratic and Republican parties both. And also throughout my tenure on the city council, I was always an independent. From the very beginning, I ran as an independent. I was never part of the Democratic Party. Although we have to be clear that the ordinary people, working class people who voted for me each time, and I won all 4 elections and never lost an election on the city council, including a recall attempt against me. Most of the people voting for me are identified and have identified as Democratic Party voters. So in other words, the rank and file of the Democratic Party is very much on our side, meaning and very angry at the Democratic Party elite. Look at the numbers today, the approval ratings. I mean, it is just stunning.
I think 62% want new leadership, and that's within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's incredible. In fact, a CNN poll recently showed that overall, not even in you're absolutely right, Pat, but even overall, it showed that overall voters, 60% of voters, or ordinary people overall, are ready for a new party. And in fact, they also clarified that they don't want a party of another party of the billionaires. Like they rejected that as well.
Yep.
They want a working class party. And the popularity of the Democratic Party is so low. It's at a 35-year low. And in fact, it takes some doing to be more unpopular than Trump.
I mean, yeah, that's when people say, why are Democrats so bad at their jobs? They're not. They're doing exactly what they were put there to do, actually. They're brilliant at what they are there for. I thought it was really interesting, attempted blowback that you got when you were talking about Jill Stein's possibility of winning nationally, which you said honestly was not going to happen, and that would actually, by lying to people, it would deflate the enthusiasm if she did win 1 million votes across the nation. And I think that your ability or insistence, integrity on being honest with voters, it's just so refreshing because we see it from pretty much nowhere. But also it's a really smart political strategy because she, I voted for, I think Pat voted for, I think many people in our audience did, as the absolute best alternative to the two, corporate run genocidal parties. And it was disappointing actually that she only got 1%, but I was, the fact that you laid it out as part of a working class strategy to get more of a foothold in this country, in the electorate, I thought that was, a brilliant move and honest move.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And I think that, always being honest with the working class and explaining what our opportunities are for a fight back is extremely crucial. And in fact, it is a real tragedy, both that the left couldn't unite behind Jill Stein, who was clearly the strongest left alternative to the Democratic and Republican presidential candidates in Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And not only was that tragic, but it's also even more of an indictment that the vast majority of the labor leadership, probably the entirety of it, refusing to support Jill Stein and going along with Kamala Harris. And even worse than that, actually, with the Teamster president, Sean O'Brien, going and speaking at the Republican National Convention, not only cozying up to Trump, but also kissing up to absolutely dreadful anti-worker, anti-union politicians, like Republican politicians like Senator Josh Hawley. I mean, completely unforgivable. Yeah. This is with this type of leadership, how can there be a possible way forward for the American working class? That is exactly why I launched Workers Strike Back, because while it's a small organization, it is on the correct footing, meaning we are very clear in Workers Strike Back that there is no way forward for the working class through the Democratic and Republican parties. And furthermore, connected to all of this, we reject what we would call business unionism, meaning the idea that has prevailed in the labor leadership for now almost 50 years, that more or less the job of labor leaders is to try to keep peace between the bosses and the workers, which is a completely fundamental misunderstanding of capitalism and class forces, the way class forces are arrayed under capitalism. Capitalism is a system of inherently of the capitalist class and their ability to siphon off wealth at the expense of ordinary working people. That class is inherently pitted antagonistically against the interests of and the needs of the working class. So there's no peace under capitalism. What masquerades as peace under capitalism is class war from the bosses to the workers. Our only option is, are we going to just lay down and die and accept that class war, or are we going to carry out class war back by getting workers organized, fighting back against the billionaires, and then winning something? But not only that, I believe that it is important to overthrow capitalism itself. So we will need revolutionary movements as well. So I think all of this is the context in which we think election campaigns fit in. So it goes back to your point, Laila, is that it's not about one election campaign. It's about building a working class fight back strategy through various tactics, and each campaign should be in service of that larger tactic. And so just to give you a very concrete example quickly, if we are able to win this election to the US Congress, it will be nothing short of a political earthquake. A revolutionary socialist has never been elected to the US Congress. And if we are able to win this, it will be a political earthquake, not because it will get lots of other revolutionary socialists immediately elected to Congress. No, it's not about elections per se. It's about leveraging. It's about using that congressional position to launch massive movements. And it goes back to what Pat was saying earlier, which is that what Bernie Sanders and AOC and other squad members have shown is that they're not willing to carry out that fight back. And so if we are able to win this office, this will be the first elected office in Washington, D.C. to do that.
Yeah, what you said about the union leadership is so important, because just like the Democratic Party, they've propagandized their members to believe that compromise and civility and procedure and unity is the most important thing we should be striving for, right? So like, I'm an actress, and my husband's a writer, we went through almost a year of strike, and our union leadership basically just laid down and told us to accept all the AI measures that were going to come in, and the streaming measures that were going to come in and just, demolish our industry, which is what's happened. And people like me who were speaking up about it were, once again, unfriended, defriended by so many of my actor friends, because it was like, we just have to get back to work. And yes, we do. I mean, we are in real financial upheaval over here. But at what cost? So now, like, everything opened back up, and yet no actors are getting hired unless you're a huge star, and writers are, the chat GPT is doing all of the work for you. But like, this whole idea of, well, this person, we're paying the negotiators so much money to talk to the studio bosses, and they want to find points of compromise where we can all get along. And that tactic never works, because we all always compromise with the people, as you said, who've been committing class war against us for millennia.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows you, all of this also relates to the union statistics, Laila, in the sense that if you look at the popularity of unions, they've never been this popular. Nearly 70% of American working people say they approve of unions, or they would like to be in a union. Yet the proportion of working people who are in unions has practically not budged in years, And so it shows you how there's a big chasm at this moment. There's a big chasm between the willingness and the understanding of tens of millions of working people to launch a fight back. There's actually just a cauldron of simmering anger from below. But there's a chasm between that opening and what leadership there's on offer, which is not able to harness that anger to actually create any momentum. And so it was really fitting, actually, that you started with the news from Italy, because there the workers are doing exactly what working people in the US should be doing, which is carrying out massive strike actions, including general strikes, which brings the profit machine, which brings business as usual to a complete standstill, because that is the only way we can exercise the power that is latent in our hands as the working class. Working people make our cities, they make our country, they make this world run. If we refuse to go to work, if we withhold our labor, then the entire machinery comes to a grinding halt. That is the power we hold within our hands. But that power cannot be brought to the fore unless strikes are carried out. And so it is really stunning that at this moment, especially with the issue of the genocide, by the way, Laila and Pat, I mean, we're in a historic situation where it's the slaughter of the Palestinian people is happening and is continuing unabated, but it's in the face of another historic statistic, which is the majority of Americans being against Israel and being pro-Palestine. This is absolutely historic, and yet this is continuing. Why? Because the Democratic and Republican parties are both parties of capitalism and imperialism. And for them, this is not, it's not like, oh, they're all drunk on the Zionist ideology or something like that. No, we have to have very clear materialist explanations for why both the parties of capitalism will never stop backing Israel. Is because it's not about Israel. It's not like Netanyahu is driving them around. Those kinds of ideas are actually flawed. They miss the actual understanding of what's happening here. The Israeli state itself came into existence as an outpost, as a bulwark of Western capitalism and of the billionaires in general. It's not just the Western billionaires. The billionaires in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates are very much complicit in the genocide and the occupation as much as white billionaires are. So it's not a racial question. It's a class question. But the reason they will never back away from supporting Israel is because it's their interest. It's not about Netanyahu. Netanyahu is a monster, but this is about the interest of the billionaire class as a whole. And therefore, in order to put this to a stop, it will require workers to go on strike. And that is why, at the minimum, we will need coordinated strike action, days of coordinated strike action across the nation.
It goes, I'm glad you brought that up, that it's not a new thing that such an unpopular policy is not supported by our politicians. It goes back perfectly in line with the Harvard study that showed what the public thinks about an issue one way or another has literally zero impact on politicians' votes, the chance of getting legislation passed on it.
Princeton, Stanford. Sorry, I always have to.
Princeton, Stanford, whatever, the elite schools.
One of those shitty schools. Yeah, it does. And also it's why they fight so hard against having a living wage, against having Medicare for all or some sort of universal single payer, because, part of the reason that Italians can go on strike is they have a different social safety net. And, just today, everybody's talking about the possible shutdown of the government. Well, first of all, it is ludicrous that we have to have this conversation twice a year, every year for my whole life. Like, what kind of country is this? Like, that's a horribly run country that we're always in fear of losing democracy and the government's shutting down. But on both sides of the aisle, they bring up an example of one of their constituents who is fighting cancer, who will not be able to make his copays if the government shuts down. Well, why does he have to make copays if he has cancer? Why does anybody have to make a copay, right? Like, but if we don't if as long as that's held over every worker's head, that you might lose your ability to take care of yourself and your family health-wise, or even, putting food on the table or having a table or having a roof, those are all intentional issues that we have to deal with in this country as ways of taming workers. So it feels like there's so many different pieces that have to come. What would happen if there were a national general strike with nobody making money or being able to afford healthcare? Like, what is the, yeah.
I mean, it's actually, it's not I don't think we can parse these out as serial or chronological events, in the sense that the reason the European working class has had better standards of living, better safety net, as you said,
Right.
Laila, is than the American working class, despite the United States being such a the wealthiest country in the history of humanity, is precisely because in past decades the working class and the labor movements in Western Europe had the clarity to fight in what I would call revolutionary struggle. Any reform that is won under capitalism, that is of any substantive value, is won through revolutionary politics. And that might sound contradictory, but that is exactly how it's always been. So, for example, the New Deal in the United States, which was a huge step forward. I mean, it changed the course of history in many ways. But in the history books, in the conventional history books, it is taught as, FDR was a nice guy, and the Democrats used to be so nice at that time. No, that is absolutely ahistorical, and it is very convenient for the ruling class. I mean, and this is what happens under capitalism. Whenever working class people win something through a fight back, a bitter fight back, with the ruling class fighting viciously against them, and then overcoming that and still winning, what the ruling class does is they will fight against you tooth and nail to prevent you from winning something. And if you did win despite all that, then they will seize the narrative. They will try to seize the narrative. So then the story is, FDR was such a nice guy, isn't he wonderful with a blanket on his knee and all that.
Liberals did it, is what they love to say.
Yes, and but liberal ideology is in service of the capitalist class. Unfortunately, that is the reality. And so, but how was the New Deal actually won? The New Deal was a concession wrested by militant workers from the capitalist class under the threat of revolutionary movements. And it was specifically the general strike by the Teamsters in Minneapolis in 1934, alongside the other strikes in the 1930s, which was a general strike in Toledo, Ohio, and another general strike in San Francisco, California. It was these general strikes that not only won historic victories, immediately in terms of their own demands, but also struck fear in the hearts of the capitalists and their representatives in the Democrats and Republican parties that if we don't give in now, if we don't make a concession now, it will actually be even more revolutionary movements. And this was FDR's understanding. In fact, he literally said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, that, I'm actually trying to save capitalism from communism.
Yeah.
That is exactly what he said. I'm trying to be a friend of the capitalist class by advising them that it is in their interest at this point, given the strength of this militant general strikes, that you actually give in something, otherwise you will have to face worse. But all these general strikes, including the one in Minneapolis, they were led by Marxists, by Trotskyists like myself. So I come from that school of thought of building fighting movements. And a basic, sort of a baseline understanding is, if you don't get who is on your side and who is not, you cannot win for the working class. It has to be crystal clear, and you cannot bend to the gatekeeper industrial complex, so to say, which is always that there will always be leaders in the labor movement, in the social movements, in the NGO industry. There will always be people who act like they're on the side of the working people, but their job is actually to keep you from fighting for working class people. You have to always see through all of that. That clarity is what I would call, in many ways, that's a Marxist clarity. And so it's no coincidence that those general strikes were able to change the course of history in the way that they did, similar to the victories that were won in Western Europe. And also, fast forward to the current times, the reason that my office was able to win unparalleled victories is also because of that exact same understanding. It is not that Seattle's working class people are more ready to fight than working people in New York City or Boston or even Texas and West Virginia. That's not true. It is because we had Marxist leadership in the form of my fellow socialists and I, that we were able to harness the potential and use our office in that way. Meaning, just to give you concrete examples of what I mean by a Marxist fighting strategy, what I mean is, first of all, running the election campaign itself in service of concrete demands like $15 an hour, like taxing the rich, like rent control. Those are the demands we ran on. I pledged to take only the average worker's wage and donate the rest of my lavish city council salary after taxes to a solidarity fund, which I carried out for 10 years. And then it's on the basis of understanding that when I go to the city council, or now if we went to the US Congress, I am not going there to administer the capitalist state, except being nicer to the working class.
Right.
No, I am going there as a disruptor of the capitalist state, as a disruptor of politics as usual, and to build mass movements against the Democrats and Republicans. I didn't go to City Hall thinking that the Democratic politicians are my friends. I didn't take the stupid fucking advice of a lot of operatives who said, well, it's great that you won. I support you. But now that you won the election, now it's time to wear your governing hat, take off your activist hat. That's all complete rubbish. You absolutely cannot lose sight of the fact that the way you win is by building fighting movements, which means even if you win through an election, that is no different. It is still movement building. And if you're a leader of a social movement, or a leader in the labor movement, or you're a leader who got elected to office like me, it doesn't matter which avenue you're talking about. In all avenues, the only way you can win is, and not sell out, is if you turn outward and build, organize the rank and file. And that's the basis on which we won the nation's highest minimum wage. We won the Amazon tax, which required defeating Jeff Bezos. Can you imagine? We have defeated Jeff Bezos more than once in Seattle. We won the Amazon tax, which raises hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund affordable housing. And we won unprecedented renters' rights, such as a $10 cap on late rent fee, a 6-month notice for any rent increases, and also a law mandating that your landlord has to pay you 3 months worth of rent if they end up forcing you to leave your tenancy because of a rent increase of 10% or more. I mean, the corporate landlord lobby hates our guts, because during my tenure on the city council, they were unable to win a single victory. And the main corporate lobbyist, when he retired, landlord lobbyist, he said very clearly, because sometimes your enemies give you the best compliments, he said that the reason the corporate landlords were unable to win a single victory, even though they had 8 politicians on their side, and I was the only one socialist, that they were unable to win because of what he said, quote unquote, Sawant's army, which was his acknowledgement that it was the mass of the working class coming to fight alongside me that we were able to win. So that is the approach we used. And I'll just end on this by saying that it is precisely because of this that even though it was one elected position, we were able to, as the Seattle Times, who's not my fan, said, that we commandeered the political agenda of the city of Seattle through one elected position. Compare that to hundreds of positions, elected positions won by the Democratic Socialists of America, and not one of them has done what we have done. And that's the difference is our political clarity, our Marxist understanding of what it actually takes for working people to win. And so that's why, contrary to what you might think, it actually is revolutionaries who make the best fighters for and winners of reforms under capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen. Hear, hear.
So, I think a lot of us felt very excited a few months ago by Zoran Mamdani, and then slowly started to get indications that he was caving to the people, the Wall Street, the cops, the Zionists, by modifying speech, saying he has to apologize. I'm going to be the mayor of everybody in this city. And it sounds like he has a lot of Democratic Party operatives in his ear. Does he have you in his ear or people like you that can set him straight?
I mean, he is free to look at what we have said publicly. It's no secret. In fact, it's the opposite of that. I often joke, but it's not actually a joke. It's a serious thing, which is that I say that I didn't invent our fighting strategy, and I just gave sort of a mini sort of accounting of how this fighting approach is rooted not only in the Marxists who won the general strikes in the 1930s in the US, but all that goes all the way back to the Russian Revolution and the Bolshevik Party. We are inheritors of those ideas. So neither can I claim to have invented these ideas, nor do I have any intellectual property on those ideas. Anybody who is listening to this, anybody who reads the history of the Russian Revolution is free to absorb these lessons. I think ultimately, Laila, your question comes down to what is it that is the driving force for leaders, and what is and if that is if that is consistent with the interests of the working class. I think that's how we have to examine it, because we have no I've always said I'm not a mind reader, and so I can't divine what is going on in the minds of someone like Zoran Mamdani or AOC or Bernie Sanders. But what I can say with 100% confidence is the strategy of kissing up to billionaires does not work, because you have just mountains upon mountains of evidence. I mean, just look at this evidence, and I'll come to the Mamdani question quickly, but look at us. We won the nation's first major city $15 an hour minimum wage. We won, Laila, you mentioned inflation, which is very crucial. In fact, within the battle of the fight for 15, the fight to win inflation increases itself was a bitterly contested fight. In fact, the Democratic Party, even when they knew that our movement was so powerful that they are going to have to vote yes that day, when the 15 legislation was signed. This goes to what you're saying, Pat, like how can workers actually win concrete legislation when they actually want it? So even on the day, even to the hour when the vote was about to happen, what were the Democratic Party politicians doing? They were not saying, you know what, I'm on the side of working people, I'm going to pass the strongest possible legislation. No, till the last second, these shameful, disgraceful Democratic Party politicians were trying to eke out every loophole they could in favor of big business. And one of them that they, and they did succeed in eking out some, because it's also a lesson of how our movements need to be strong enough, and so we win only to the extent that we can change the balance of power between the bosses and the workers. And so we did win lots of things, but we didn't win everything. But one of the things that we did win was against their attempt to water down the bill and say fast food franchises wouldn't pay. Can you believe it? Can you imagine how many workers would have been denied the minimum wage increase? I literally went to the dais, in City Hall chambers with a directory of fast food franchise businesses, because they publish these things, and I said, look at how thick this directory is. This is how many businesses we have that qualify as franchises, and all the workers at these businesses are going to be denied 15. And this is what your Democratic Party politicians are doing. So it is that type of exposing where you directly show this is what these rotten people are doing. Right. You don't worry about whether they're going to be friends with you or not. Fuck no, I don't want their friendship. What I want is to win for the working class, because the working class people are my friends. That's the only friendship I want. That's the only credibility and accountability I want. And so that is how we won. And we also won inflation increases. That's how we won. And even though the Democrats were fighting hard to not get inflation increases, they wanted to put a sunset clause and all that. It was dreadful. But the reason I'm going into all this is that, so we won this. And then after that, the fight for 15 went national. And you had city after city, state after state winning it. And now millions of American workers have won massive increases in minimum wage because of the fight for 15 that was successful in Seattle under our leadership. And look at the contrast. What is the national federal minimum wage?
Increased the last time under George W. Bush, not even the 8 years of Obama.
25, I think.
Yes, you're both right. It increased last under Bush, and it's still $7.25. And the minimum wage for tipped workers is $2.13. Can you believe this? This is absolutely disgraceful. And so what have these so-called progressives won? You have AOC, you have the Squad, you have Bernie Sanders, you have 100+ members in the so-called Congressional Progressive Caucus. You have Pramila Jayapal, you have Ro Khanna. These people have won absolutely nothing for the working class. And the contrast between the federal minimum wage and the minimum wage victories that we spearheaded, it is a night and day contrast. And so it really shows that we can win these victories, but not with the strategy of the Democratic Party so-called progressives.
Right. But I think, even when you lose on an issue, if you fight, like you said, and the public sees you fight, you are building popularity, you're building your movement regardless. And I think that's the value, even if Zoran isn't able to complete a lot of these goals, as long as he keeps the army that elected him behind him and doesn't, cave to the Democratic Party. And there are signs already that he's caving, because, when you get endorsements, it's not like you just met with this guy and now he's endorsing you. You probably gave up something in your campaign already, unfortunately. That's what I fear.
Yeah, I think, we have to be clear, obviously, and I've said this many times, I strongly support the demands he's running on, of publicly owned affordable grocery stores, of rent freeze in the rent stabilized apartments, which are about 1 million or so apartments, and $30 an hour minimum wage. I strongly support all of this. And I've also publicly pledged that if there was a fight to win a $30 an hour minimum wage in New York City, I will personally be there to help win that fight. But Pat, you were pointing towards this, is that, but winning demands for working class people is a separate question. Whether Zoran Mamdani wins his election or not is a separate question. We have seen any number of politicians who have won elections and made their own careers. I have no doubt that you can win elections in the Democratic Party and make a career. But can you win the demands that you actually ran on? That's a separate question. And ultimately, that is why working class people have to think for themselves in terms of whether this strategy would actually help us. It's the focus is on Mamdani, obviously, but for us, we have to ask this question, that the strategy he's using, will that actually succeed in winning? And that is why when people ask me, oh, don't you think he's well-intentioned? I don't want to answer that question, because I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what is, I'm not a
I don't
micromanage.
even care what's in anybody's heart. I
Yeah,
just want to
it's
see
not.
what
Yeah,
you're
that's not the
doing.
issue. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
Let's assume.
Right.
We can assume
Yeah.
that everybody is full of good intentions. It's a question of strategy. Does that strategy work? Has it ever worked where a progressive elected official has gone and sought out meetings with billionaires and somehow they are going to let you have anything? No. You know what the billionaires do if they sense that you are willing to give in this or that, they will smell blood in the water and they will go for the kill. That is why, and I'm speaking from experience, that is why you have to be an unwavering fighter for the working class. And when people would say, oh, corporate media would ask me, aren't you willing to meet businesses, during the fight for 15? I said, of course I'm willing to meet. I've met with businesses. What I'm not willing to do is fucking back down
Yeah.
for them.
They can join my train.
We're organizing workers, and so it is up to the business owners to explain why it is that they believe that it is correct for their employees to work in poverty. They can explain. They're free to come to City Hall and explain in public why it is that their workers don't deserve a minimum living wage. And so that is the approach we used. Unfortunately, that is not the approach being used by Zoran Mamdani. And again, it's nothing new in what he's doing. I mean, you look at what AOC did when she ran in 2018, the first time against corporate Democrat Joe Crowley. She brought up Green New Deal, Medicare for all, $15 an hour. And she also said that it would be better to be a one-term Congress member than sell out.
Yeah.
But then she promptly went ahead and sold out. And so, again, this is a question of looking at the overwhelming statistical evidence of the inability of anybody, regardless of their intentions, to win anything for the working class on the basis of making peace with the billionaires and their political representatives. So I will put it this way. If someone if an arch corporate politician like Kathy Hochul ever endorsed me, I would worry about what I was doing wrong, because I expect that when I am fighting hard and clearly for the working class, I expect that anyone like Kathy Hochul is not only not going to endorse me, they are going to be openly fighting against me. That is the clarity that we need about which class you are for. So once you start blurring which class you're fighting for, it never goes well for the working class. When you, as a politician or as an elected official or as a leader, movement leader, when you start blurring the lines, it always goes badly for the working class. That is why you should not blur the lines. And also, Pat, you mentioned a very important point, which was, it is actually a powerful campaign. Mamdani has done a lot of things that we agree with, which is, first of all, raising working class demands. We strongly agree with that. And we also agree with the fact that there is a massive ground campaign with tens of thousands of volunteers. We strongly agree with that. That's how we have won our campaign. So we don't oppose that. But we also think that those tens of thousands of working people should be, we should be organized into action, not just to win votes, but to actually win victories for the working class. So just to give you a concrete example, Mamdani is calling for a rent freeze in rent stabilized apartments. I strongly agree with that. But but right after he won the primary, the rent control board met and increased the rents right now. So my question is, if you're calling for a rent freeze, then why don't you mobilize your supporters right now?
Yeah.
Shut down the rent control board meeting and defeat them in their attempted rent increases. What sense does it make to say you're fighting for rent increases, but in front of your eyes the rent increases are happening, and you have tens of thousands of people who would come if you called for for an action? So
and
that
if you give your movement a win before the election, you're a slam dunk to win.
You're a slam dunk. Absolutely. You don't you don't need to do any meetings with billionaires.
Yeah.
You need to show that you're willing to put a fight into it. And that is why, exactly. That is a slam dunk. And also, he's already a slam dunk. I'm sorry. This is not a close race in any way.
Right.
So my question is, if somebody is this cautious when they have such a huge margin between them and their opponents, then is it plausible for us to imagine that they will be using a fighting strategy when there is far more pressure on them, which there will be once they are elected mayor? So that's a logical question I would ask.
It is really illustrative that he did not call his enormous working class voter base to fight against that rent increase. Number one, especially because we saw what happened with Obama for America, disbanding all of that as soon as he got into office. Bernie, as soon as he capitulated to Biden in 2020, basically just like losing a touch with all of his supporters. The same with AOC. I mean, the only reason that inside outside strategy would have any credibility to it is if you do what you did all through your tenure in Seattle City Council, is constantly bring your, with all of the people who are supporters of yours, the working class, in on the fights to fight against what the capitalist class wants to do. And the fact that he's not even doing that now and acting with so much timidity is really alarming.
I think that the scary part for a lot of people is, look, Democratic strategists are already advising a lot of candidates to run as independent, anti-establishment Democrats. And so you're going to have a lot of people that may take up this platform in some sense, but it's complete farce, and he hasn't proven yet that he's really going to harness the leverage he has with the workers behind him.
Yeah, and I think for the working class, it is important that we speak the truth, and it goes back to your point from earlier, Laila, that it is important for us to be honest, and that's what we have said, that these demands are important, and it is we have shown repeatedly that we can win on the basis of never selling out. So we don't buy into explanations like excuses for Mamdani that, well, he needs to do these things in order to win. No, he doesn't. I've won without kissing up to billionaires.
I think maybe you need to put a call into him.
I don't think that it's a question of convincing him, so to say, because I think he has chosen the path he wants to go on. I would focus on educating working people and warning them about what's needed and what works and what doesn't work. I mean, he has even recently his campaign has drawn New York City investors, meaning, venture capitalists and big, Wall Street guys. They have formed an advisory group, supposedly, which is an effort to guide him if he wins the election. I mean, none of this bodes well. And so it is important that we clarify that it is the history of what actually works and what doesn't work. Right. And just to also, go into a little bit of his own history. When he was on the New York State Assembly, I believe he won 3 elections. And the last 2 elections that he won, he ran unopposed, even in the Democratic primary. So neither the Democrats nor the Republicans ran an opponent against him. I mean, I just don't see how such a thing is conceivable if you are any type of threat to the ruling class, which you need to be if you are winning for workers. I mean, a lot of people, the reason a lot of, so-called leaders don't adopt the strategy that we have adopted, which is a revolutionary strategy, fighting strategy, is because when you do that, you become enemy number one in the eyes of the billionaires at the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the NGO leaders, and in fact, unfortunately, most of the labor leadership as well. But that comes with the territory. There is no universe where you can be popular with them and also win for the working class. You can be popular with the power brokers and not win for the working class and make your career. Yes, that's possible. But if you want to actually fight for the working class, it does require you to become an enemy of some of the very powerful people, because they are the ones who don't want working class people to win. So it's a very simple logic. It's not that, Kshama is just one big meanie. It's actually the people who are mean, the people who are vicious are the billionaires. The people who are mean and vicious are the Democrats who are opposed to the working class. It's not, I don't take it as it's not a personal fight or a personal tiff. Yeah. It is class warfare. And in that class warfare, you cannot, as I said before, you cannot blur the lines, because if you do, then working class people lose out. And so the question I would have is, how is it, if you're a fighter for the working class, how is it that you run unopposed? I mean, in my case, not only did I not run unopposed, in 2019, which was my second re-election, I won my first election in 2013, then my first re-election in 2015, then in 2019, I not only had the full might of Jeff Bezos and Amazon and Starbucks corporations against me, the $1.5 million spent to try and unseat me. It was not just that. It was also progressive Democrats openly running a candidate against me. It was Teresa Mosqueda, Lorena Gonzalez. They actually spoke, Latina council members who were on the city council with me, who said that supposedly they agreed with me on lots of things. They ran a candidate against me. That is the kind of enemy you need to become of the ruling class and their spokespeople in order to win for the working class, because that is the kind of threat you have to pose by your ability and your willingness to organize an army, as they said, of working class people. And then all your enemies come, you end up exposing the actual enemies of the working class. They're not my personal enemies, they're enemies of the working class, and hence they are my enemy because I'm fighting for the working class. So if ever if my re-election was ever a cakewalk, I would be extremely worried about what I was doing wrong. And so those are not, they don't tell the whole story, but these things are useful rules of thumb to see whether you are actually fighting for and winning for working people.
That is really clarifying. And I'm just going to add that to the roster of my disappointments. But yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Obviously everybody came out against him when he was running for mayor at 1%. But as you said, he had a tenure of several years before that. And the fact that he ran unopposed for 2 of the elections is.
But this is where I do think there's still value with him winning, because if he wins and doesn't fight to enact these policies, we could say, look, you can't within the Democratic Party. Can we disavow people this belief that you can ever be a Democrat and actually fight for Medicare for all?
Yeah, sorry, Pat, but you brought up an important point, which is, we cannot ever make the fatal mistake of, an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of logic, which is that we have to be very clear that Cuomo, Adams, all of these people are absolute slime balls. They absolutely have to be defeated. And in fact, it is a heartening revelation that the working class of New York City wants to defeat those people. And Zohran Mamdani's support, it very much shows the support for a fight back, the support for the demands he's raised. So all of that is very positive. And so, I would much rather that Mamdani actually fought for the working class. And it's important that he has run his campaign on the basis of these demands. And one thing that he has done very correctly is never shied away from those demands. He has been relentless about those demands every step of the way. So it's not about in any way criticizing an individual. It's about pointing out the strategy that will be needed in order to win. So it's a completely impersonal but very much necessary strategy conversation that we are trying to inject into all of this discussion, and in fact, we should also point out that the fact that Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all of these people, the fact that they are opposed to him, it shows you the true nature of the Democratic Party.
Right. Absolutely. And, I feel like we walk a line in this show also when we show stuff with the Fight the Oligarchy tour, as toothless as that is, with no demands, it still does reveal how hungry the working class across the US is for leadership and to come together to take down the people who are committing social murder against us every day. I think so that I never want to minimize the hunger of the working class people who show up because they are looking to change their reality. But I am also, endlessly disappointed by the leadership who takes advantage of that. And then that's the end of the moment is just, we did another tour without any demands. What's the demand? How are we leveraging this for something?
I really agree with you. What you said, Laila, is that we have to make a distinction between the anger of the mass of working class people and their desire to fight back, which is, as you correctly said, is shown through the hundreds of thousands who are attending the Fight Oligarchy tour. And as you said, Pat, tens of thousands, millions of people supporting Mamdani in New York. All of this is a positive sign. What isn't of road to victory and what is a dead end for the working class is the fact that neither Bernie Sanders nor AOC has any strategy. In fact, it is worse than having no strategy. Their strategy for the White Oligarchy Tour is to try and turn working people back into voting for the Democratic Party in the midterm elections. That is their objective. That is deeply unfortunate, but that is also a selling out of the working class. So this is not about
a pressure release, right?
Yeah, it is a pressure release, exactly. But it's a very limited pressure release in the sense that, okay, yes, let's give expression to everybody's anger, but then let's make sure they remember to vote blue in the midterms. That is a dead end, and we should never participate in that dead end.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. And now you have them all, giving eulogies to Charlie Kirk and Ezra Klein. Why is Ezra Klein all of a sudden the voice of the Democratic Party? I mean, not that I care what the Democratic Party does, but it is just interesting to see another group we're going to throw under the bus to compromise with the right. It's going to be trans people and immigrants and Palestinians and,
Well, he's the only one offering a strategy that isn't, realistic, which is it's the economy stupid. It's the working class suffering stupid. So he's got this abundance theory, which just trickled down economics, but with Democratic support, deregulate everything.
Yeah.
So it's the only alternative. It's not valid at all, but it's a strategy.
But the fact that elitist commentators like Ezra Klein are become the gurus of the Democratic Party shows you the complete rottenness of the Democratic Party. That's why it's a good reminder that, lest I forget, the Democratic Party also fucking represents the billionaire class like the Republicans do, because it's not just Ezra Klein. It's also people like James Carville who literally said, now that Trump is elected, let him mess up and become unpopular. The Democrats just need to sit back and wait for the midterms. Are you serious? Yeah. That is exactly what the Democrats have done. Trump has cut $1 trillion from Medicare and Medicaid and food assistance. And what have the Democratic politicians done? They have done fuck all to stand up for working class people. And it's not only that they didn't fight against Trump's attacks, it's that they opened the way for Trump's attacks. Because let's remember, the first big savage attack on Medicare and Medicaid wasn't under Republicans. It was Bill Clinton's so-called Balanced Budget Act in 1997, which the majority of Democrats in Congress supported, including my opponent, Adam Smith. And that bill slashed more than $150 billion from Medicare and Medicaid. So that is how they opened the way for Trump's attacks. The Democratic Party has paved the way for Trump to be reelected in the first place. I mean, Trump left office as the most unpopular president in modern US history. How is it that such a guy gets reelected again? How is it that 20 million people who voted for Biden in 2020 don't vote at all because they are angry about the genocide and the cost of living crisis? The victory of Trump in the election last year is entirely at the doorstep of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
And let's not forget that the first 15 months of this genocide, of this now nearly 24 months of the genocide in Gaza, were under the leadership of Democratic President Biden and the Democrats, like my opponent, Adam Smith. My opponent, Adam Smith, he has been in Congress for 28 years. He's a Democrat. He has been in Congress for 28 years. He has voted to send tens of billions of dollars for the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And over nearly 30 years, he has probably voted for hundreds of billions of dollars for the Israeli state's occupation of Palestinian lands. He is still one of the people remaining in Congress who voted for the Iraq war. He voted for the bailout of the big banks repeatedly, both under Barack Obama and George W. Bush, and voted, when millions of working class families were left in the lurch. He voted for the railroad workers' strike to be broken, for breaking the railroad workers' strike. And he also last year voted repeatedly to ban U.S. funding for United Nations food aid in Gaza. Last year, Adam Smith, Democrat, called anti-war protesters left-wing fascists and demanded that they be arrested. it is still Barack Obama, who is Democrat Barack Obama, who was, who was the deporter in chief. He's still the deporter in chief. That's how many people he deported. And Democrats like Adam Smith also voted to create ICE. They have voted repeatedly to fund ICE. So who is responsible for all of the ills of this society, for the horrific ICE raids, the mass slaughter and genocide in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing in Gaza and the West Bank, the cost of living crisis that tens of millions of Americans are facing, where they're barely able to pay their rent, don't have health care, they are struggling for high quality education for their children, they're somehow getting by. Who is responsible for all this? It's both the Democratic and Republican parties, because they both represent the interests of Wall Street. That is why we're also, alongside my congressional campaign, we're also fighting for a ballot initiative, Seattle-wide ballot initiative for free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the rich, in which we are fighting to increase the Amazon tax that we already won to $5 billion to fund free healthcare for all, regardless of citizenship status.
How are they going to tame those workers? How are they going to keep the laborers in check? Yeah, I mean, it's just so fascinating. Liberals wake up when Trump is in power, any Republican, whether it's COVID. I mean, okay, 400,000 people died under Trump. 800,000 people died under Biden when he told everybody to rip off their masks. And now we are seeing mass infections. We're in our 11th wave. Nobody talks about that. We are reinfecting people with an immune compromising, cancer causing, heart stroke, heart attack, brain damaging infection. Nobody's talking about it. We have this list of possible domestic violent extremists that Trump just came out with. Joe Biden came in with 2021. He had a whole list of the exact same people: anti-capitalists, climate, people who are fighting for climate protections. I mean, the ICE, there's a report right now of ICE right now, they're doing all these lawsuits. Well, one of the women who's talking about how trans women were put in with men and sexually abused for the last 2 years. So that wasn't only under Trump, right? Like, all of these structures were financed, created, voted in by both parties, and there is no reforming them.
Let's just call it the capitalist party from now on.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that you're fighting for universal health care. And if we can just get one state to pass that, it would be a deal breaker nationally.
Yes.
Because you have to, we're all held hostage. The less people are willing to strike or able to strike because of healthcare tied to their employment. And that's the biggest difference between us and some countries like Italy, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. I could not agree more. In fact, that is the strategy we have in mind. The way we won $15 an hour here, and then that fight, it's contagious. The fight back is contagious, and we can win. It creates momentum for a national fight back. That is exactly what we have in mind. And in fact, again, here, we're not inventing this strategy. Actually, if you look at the history of how Canada won public healthcare, it was by a new party, actually, a party of the working class called the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. They won the election in a province in Saskatchewan, and they fought for, it was a question of, fighting, doing a militant fight back for many years, and Marxists were at the leadership of that as well. And they won publicly funded healthcare in Saskatchewan, but that became so popular that nationally working people who started clamoring for it, and it was a conservative government at the head, the Tories, who were forced to institute public healthcare nationally because they were so afraid that the CCF would win a national election. So it was under threat of a bigger victory for the working class that they were forced to do it. And that is exactly the idea we have, that if we can show that free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the rich, can be won in one city, then it will absolutely propel momentum for a fight nationally. And that is the only way we can do it, in the sense that, look at what happened in California. Twice there was an attempt to win. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. That's us.
We
We're
both
in
live
California.
here, so yeah, with our Democratic
we know we got all the local, California politicians, Democrats, to sign off and agree on it, and they were able to table the bill, even though all these senators and Congress people would have been forced to vote for it, or they would have found that way out. but they found a fall guy within the party in Anthony Rendon to never bring the bill up to a vote.
They always do this, they play this bait and switch where they decide in the back rooms who's going to be their fall guy. And it's really not even the fall guy, in the sense that in the party, you are rewarded. You are rewarded for that. And, you barely have a scratch on your political career when you do that, because you have this entire machinery protecting you, because you're doing their bidding. And so, and the problem is that, unfortunately, the leadership of CalCare, including the National Nurses Union leadership, they should not have tied themselves to the Democratic Party. In fact, they should have done what we did in winning $15 an hour and the Amazon tax. A big part of the story, which I should mention, which is, it was a crucial component of how we won, is that it's not only that we obviously, overall, it was a fighting approach. We launched movements. We had marches, rallies, protests, all of that. Of course, all of that was true. But it wasn't just that. It was that we also, and we had a revolutionary socialist city council member in the form of me. But it wasn't just that. We specifically also launched a ballot initiative for each time, for the $15 an hour in minimum wage in 2014. And then in 2020, when we were fighting for the Amazon tax, we had a tax Amazon ballot initiative, a tax on big business to fund housing. And the way we did it was, just to give you one example of tax Amazon, we collected 30,000 signatures for the tax Amazon ballot initiative, with the idea of making it a credible threat against the Democratic Party and against big business. The message was that if you don't pass the Amazon tax from the city council, we will take it straight to the voters, and look, we have a momentum to win. So the 30,000 signatures demonstrated the momentum, and we had enormous momentum. Remember, it was 2020. This was a George Floyd rebellion. Millions of people were out on the streets in multiracial working class solidarity against racism, against economic inequality. And it was in those protests that we collected 10,000 signatures a month. In 3 months, we collected 30,000 signatures. That is the kind of momentum we had for the Amazon tax. But in order to do that, so one crucial component was a credible threat. And I believe that if you want to win something big like healthcare, you will need an actual credible threat of that kind. It has to be a clear strategy with fighting tactics. And without that, you're not going to force the Democrats to budge, because they don't represent us. They represent the billionaires. But also the other part of the story that is very, very not known, it's very little known, is that at that time, when we were fighting for the Amazon tax, we were told again, there was a whole industry of gatekeepers. Unfortunately, many NGO leaders, many BLM leaders ended up playing, in my view, a misleadership role. They were misleaders. And there was all this narrative that, you have to listen to Black people. And we said, well, we're going to listen to Black working class people. Let's say let's see what they say. But they tried to use identity politics against us. Like many of the Black BLM misleaders in Seattle said, well, tax Amazon is not a Black issue. You should not be talking about that. And we said, no, you're not going to gatekeep us. We're going to go straight to the people and see what they say, working people, and see what they say. Even the DSA leaders, many of them said, don't do this. We have to listen to Black leaders. And many of the NGO leaders had another tack. They said, oh, don't call it the Amazon tax. We don't want to provoke Amazon. And I said, you think Jeff Bezos is stupid enough to not we can call this tax Donald Duck, and he will know it's a tax on him. We're not going to keep him from fighting against us. Instead, it is important that we call it the Amazon tax, because working people will be energized to fight, which is what we need to defeat Jeff Bezos. And that is exactly what happened. Laila, Pat, when we went to the protest, BLM protest, and we, with our clipboard saying, do you want to tax Amazon? People, including Black working people, would come up to us. I mean, the clipboards were flying from our hands saying, fuck yeah, I want to tax Amazon. That is the momentum we had. But in order to achieve that, it took the clarity of having a credible threat, and also the clarity to defeat the gatekeepers, not be bound by them. And if they hate you, so what? Go ahead and hate us. But we're going to go to the working class people and organize them.
Well, I mean, we love everything you say. We're huge fans. Seriously, it's so inspiring because we spend so much of the time. And, I think also your clarity with the only way we're going to get the healthcare, like it doesn't happen in steps. Oh, we need the living wage and the healthcare before we can actually like come together to fight. No, it doesn't happen that way. That's the way you get all this stuff. Is really it's both clarifying, but it is also it's such a positive way to look at it as opposed to defeatism, which I tend to feel, where it's like, oh God, too many things have to happen and people are struggling. And I think I'm so grateful to you for the way you lay it all out for us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I think you made an important point. At this moment, one of the fatal mistakes we could make is to feel pessimistic about our chances of winning, in the sense that working people are ready to fight. Yeah. What's missing, and this should make us alive to the challenges, and not defeatist, but alive to the challenges, is that the leadership isn't there. And that is why our campaign is important, because it is almost the only light of understand, the only way path forward for the working class, whether it is to end the genocide or to win free healthcare for all. This campaign is crucial. So it doesn't matter where you're watching from, whether it's Los Angeles or West Virginia or Texas or Boston or New York or Chicago, I don't care. This is a national campaign. And if you agree with what we're talking about, then you should join our campaign. You go to kshamasawant.org, my full name, .org, and sign up. We need you to volunteer. And if you're anywhere in the Seattle area, you need to join us at our big campaign rally on Sunday, October 12th at 2 p.m. Pacific. It's really crucial that working class people get organized with us. And that not only is that the only way we will win, but it is going to be, as I said before, a political earthquake if we can win this election, and we have a shot to win. So it's our responsibility to give it our best shot and win, because we need this so badly.
Cheers. Here. We absolutely do. And we, in the program notes and YouTube in the description, is your website, and also Workers Strike Back, that leads everybody to this. Please get out there, be there, support in any way you can. So Kshama Sawant, you're just amazing. We are longtime fans. You're so inspiring. And thank you for doing what you're doing. We will continue to follow you and support in any way we can. Thank you.
Give them hell. We don't even need to say that. Cheers.
No, I appreciate hearing it. It's that support. The support from you all is extremely crucial, because that is how we get the build our morale to continue the fight back. So I greatly appreciate you covering this and inviting me on your show, Pat, Lila. Really, thank you so much.
Please come back anytime. We would love it. We are just thrilled, and we will just keep following you and supporting you. Thank you. Cheers. Keep up the fight.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a really good night. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you. Well, that was so amazing. Her energy, her intelligence, her fire, and also her knowledge of revolutionary tactics, because I think I get really stuck in the sort of day-to-day of where we are and having to deal just with the
right.
What exists
and I think also,
right now.
We're all latching on, well, a lot of us are latching on to Mamdani as this,
National,
case study to nationalize a local election. But at the end of the day, he's still a Democrat, and we know how that goes. I'm not saying not to still support him. I'm still supporting him.
Yeah, me too.
To have an actual socialist outside of the party that could win the seat that she's fighting for would be amazing. It would be amazing. And we know 10 years of her record says she's not going to capitulate on any of this crap. So
not going to capitulate. So, listen, if she gets to Congress, that will reinvigorate, I think, some of the people who came on the heels of AOC, and I think Summerlee, who does have that kind of fire. But I think the more people in there to show up the AOCs and the Pramila Jayapals, and to show, this is what we were all talking about.
We've got the
and buttress up somebody like Mamdani if he wants that.
Well, you've got the whole squad, which was the first, on AOC's heels, nationalizing local elections, even though it's, for Congress or Senate, it's a national position. But you know, you got fundraising from everywhere around the world, even
Yeah.
for these positions. And the squad just disillusioned a lot of people, you know? So now we have like, okay, so you're disillusioned with the squad. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's a socialist who's actually got a track record of fighting for things with the
knows who
right
the enemy-
plan.
Yeah.
So let's get her in
absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. All hands on deck. And boy, we would love to get Ralph Nader, and we will work on that. We would love it. Yeah. That gave me a lot of hope, actually. A lot of hope. And I do still have hope for Mamdani, but we need everybody as much as possible to come out and show our, like, before he gets in power. I hope there are people in his ear who aren't the Wall Street crowd, but I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. I think with him, we're not going to know anything until he's in power.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody saw that Eric Adams has dropped out. He's officially no longer
100%.
running. Yeah. So, okay. Let's do let's return to normal. And thank our wonderful heroes and sheroes, our PUP members, and then we can move on to the wheel and some news of the week. Much. Truly appreciate your support. And boy, times like this where we have somebody who gives us some hope and injects that adrenaline in, that makes me you know,
what is hope? Somebody explain it to me. I've forgotten what it means.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely, I think, have spent so much time thinking about all the reasons. And I mean, they're valid reasons. People don't have money. They don't have health care. And that's intentional. But I keep sort of using it as an excuse in my head for why it's so difficult. You know, the other thing that we forgot to mention was, yes, Biden is very well known for breaking the railway strike, but he had 2 other strikes that he crushed during his regime, and nobody ever talks about that. For the most, you know, pro-union president of our lifetimes, he crushed the New Jersey transit strike in October of 2024, and in 2023 in the summer he crushed the West Coast dock workers strike. Nobody even talks about that.
Well, and that's just an example of, like, you know, if we got a win, the win was the strike in the first place, and he busted it. So they beat us, and he got bad press for that.
Yeah.
But the party is so good at controlling the narrative that the next 2 we didn't hear anything about.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
There you go.
I mean, it is truly amazing. Okay, let's bring in our where's my wheel?
You got a wheel?
It is. I got it.
I'll distract him with the cat.
Okay, I got it here. 1 second. We've got a lot of things going on here. There we go. High strike. Okay. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Strike knew. She knew exactly what it was going to land on.
All right.
She's happy for me. She's happy for... Look, she's happy.
Don't you dare do that. Don't you dare eat those toes.
Turn around. Okay, I don't... Mango looks...
What is happening?
Oh, don't eat that. No, yucky, yuck.
Do ba 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 do boo do.
You're done. You're done.
Oh my God, how are parents allowing this to happen? I'm beside myself.
And the other Mary, and the other Mary, and the other Mary. Where?
I am always shocked by what parents allow their kids to do to torture those animals. Quick shout out, because we didn't say it out loud when Kshama was here, but Daniel NY1, thank you for that super chat. Hi, Auntie Lila, it's me, Evo. We support you. We're getting my nephews into socialism at very young ages. Thank you, Evo. And Kimmy, thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for bringing Kshama on. Excellent interview. She's just so whip smart and fierce, and I just adore her. So we very lucky to have her tonight. Okay, so let's just do a 180 to some of the most reprehensible people. Do you want which place do you want to go, Pat? We got several options.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should wrap up with the Dem stuff.
Yeah. Do you want to? I mean, just to remind ourselves what we missed out on. Just a very, I don't know, drunk or Percocet up. I never even know what the drug of choice, the pills are. It's quick. Yeah, Kamala doing a little college tour at Howard here.
Closest election for president of the United States in the 21st century.
Wow, I know that's right. And a Howard grad did that. Here.
And a Howard grad did.
I just want to warn everyone. I don't know if you saw it, but she was at Howard today, or maybe it was yesterday, but they were putting out videos of Howard students on their phone running to her from miles away like she's the Beatles, like, oh my God, Kamala's here.
Like a hype reel.
Come on, this is nonsense. There's no support for Kamala.
It's ridiculous. There is definitely no organic. I mean, to have somebody like we just spent over an hour with Kshama Sawant, who can speak brilliantly on history, on the current situation, on her tenure in Seattle, on her hopes, on other people's, holding office and how they have executed their time in office. And then you have Kamala. It's like that is who the Democratic Party offers up to take down Donald Trump.
That's who they offer up. And CNN and MSNBC are even shooting her down. They're like, hey, Democratic Party, we can't even go there this time around. Stop it. Stop it.
I mean, I hope so. But yes, I hear what you're saying. But it's like in their mind, it's Pete Buttigieg, so like it's just a slightly better spoken version of the same thing. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah. And it's just like, they were doing that with Biden until all we got left is Biden. Now Biden's our guy. So, hey, they tried to run Buttigieg this time. Yeah. Well, let's go back to Kamala.
Yeah.
Then
they'll take a shit on something Kshama tries to do if they feel like really put, or Mamdani. I mean, not that I'm putting them in the same boat, but like, just to show that they're still on the side of their CEO overlords. Doug Grinberg, I am not sure. I've seen a couple of interviews with him. There seems to be a bit of a nod towards the abundance crowd that I've seen him express, which makes me really nervous. He does say he doesn't take AIPAC or any, big PAC money. I don't know. I need to do a little bit more research, but I do also think that the time is right. I cannot imagine that San Francisco wants another round with Nancy Pelosi. What do you think, Pat?
No, but she's also one of the most powerful Democrats who has no real support and wins every. She only had opponents a few cycles ago. Like she ran unopposed most of her career because she has that much power.
Yeah.
So you never know.
And then they destroyed Shahid. Yeah.
But we do have to watch out for just, I'm not taking AIPAC money. That means I'm a good guy. because there are
Right.
other ways to funnel all this money.
Yeah.
And if you get elected without taking that money, well, now you're elected. Now the money's there for you. So now your
Yeah.
job, as long as you toe the party line is
Yeah.
secure, and your job post election is secure. Post,
I
candidacy.
do think, if I remember correctly, that there was some kind of friction between him and AOC at the beginning of her first term, where I think he maybe tweeted something out or was wearing like a Che Guevara shirt. He did something that, well, first of all, was really instructive about who she was, because he was gone very quickly after that. I don't know if it was like furthering a protest. I mean, at the very beginning, she did the protest in Nancy Pelosi's office, right? The Green New Deal, with Sunrise Movement. We haven't heard her talk about a Green New Deal, in 5 years, but he was part of that kind of more militant aspect of her team. And then he was no longer with her. So,
I truly know nothing about him.
Yeah.
I think we do need to all be a little bit leery that Democratic strategists recognize we're going to have the most anti-establishment elections ever this time around, because sentiment has just gotten worse. So you are going to have super corporate-owned people rejecting PAC money.
Right. Yeah.
For example.
Yep. Yeah. It will be like trademarked, anti-establishment trademark.
Right.
Yeah. Should we show just a little bit of this DNC, the Ezra Klein with
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not really even
I very certain.
Understand. Sorry, we're both doing the same thing here. Let me rewind this. Why this guy on the left, Tim Dillon, is that his name? I think that's his name. Tim Dillon.
He became a thing like overnight, and it's clearly a Democratic.
Well, and what's insane is, he was a Republican. Like, why do we have a Republican having all these, Democratic operatives on? Like, why are we still doing, not we, I don't give a fuck, but like, why does this keep happening is also another really important point for Democratic voters to understand, that for some reason, the person that the Democratic Party and the elites there always want to proffer up as the fount of knowledge, wisdom, how to win elections is a Republican. Like, okay.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying, is that they're running on an anti-establishment cycle. So this guy is Mr. Anti-establishment, because he was a Trumper, but Trumper kind of let him down and stuff.
Wait, no, okay, wait, sorry, just for I
Republican, not
he's a
Trump.
Republican, not a Trumper, but
Yes,
Republican, not
but,
a Trumper, just to be like, so we don't.
But
get
that
fake
that
news.
fits the mold, because you
Yeah.
can be you're anti-establishment,
which is
he's a rogue guy, it's
ridiculous.
Kind of spin.
Yeah, it was so difficult to be anti-Trump and still make millions doing a podcast. All right, so here he is with Democratic fount of wisdom, Ezra Klein.
They're about to beat Susan Collins and then fail, right? That's the story.
Or very certain he can beat Susan.
So they're talking about Maine. As happens in Maine, might happen in the whole world. That's what Graham Plattner in his layest campaign ad says. He's the one. We've shown some campaign videos of his.
He's the clamor.
Oyster guy who was in the military for like 11 years, but he's anti-war, anti-genocide, pro-Palestine, anti-APAC, pro-universal health care, tax the rich. He's kind of running like Mamdani, basically, but he's more, he fits more like a younger Tim Walz vibe than a metropolitan guy.
Janet Mills, and there's another the Maine beer company with candidates in there. Like, who the hell knows?
Right,
Maine politics are finicky.
We don't know what's going to happen there yet. But I'm all for Graham Plattner. But I think the telling thing about Maine politics is Susan Collins. Right. The idea that a Democrat could win in Maine is not surprising. The idea that a Republican is held on in Maine is surprising, and she's done it by being more culturally liberal than the rest of her caucus. So I've been thinking about the Affordable Care Act. As you mentioned, I used to cover healthcare a lot. When the Affordable Care Act passed, there were about 40 pro-life Democrats in the House, 40. Democrats held Senate seats in Arkansas, in Louisiana, in North Dakota, in South Dakota, in Ohio, in
Montana,
West Virginia, in Montana, in Indiana. I think to a lot of people, I've been thinking about this in the email I've been getting recently. I think for a lot of Democrats, to twist the old line about capitalism, which you may have heard, right? It's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. Yeah. It has become easier to imagine the end of America than Democrats winning a Senate seat in Arkansas. Like they just it's become like a completely inconceivable thing. But not that long ago, we had Senate seats in Arkansas. Not that long ago, we had a Democratic president from Arkansas. And so you have to begin, I think if you take how bad this is very seriously, and I really do, I think you have to say politics is about winning power. It's not about only choosing strategies I'm personally comfortable with. I am very, very, very pro-choice. My wife had medically horrific pregnancies. There's almost nothing that I feel more emotionally intense about as that a woman should be able to, a family should be able to choose whether or not to go through that. It would be very dangerous for her to be pregnant again. Have we protected reproductive rights using the political strategies we have employed over the past 15 years? We have not. We have failed. And I think core to my view is failure. We are failing. We are failing to protect.
So wait. The strategy is
so drop that as part of your platform, and then you're not failing. If you're like, no, we're not running as pro-choice. Sorry.
Yeah, well, he's going to end this screen on how much the most important issue to him is his wife and what she went through with. So we got to get that off the platform, and somehow that'll be a strategy to get abortion rights protected by electing somebody who's not.
No, then you won't be failing. If that's no longer part of your platform, then you're can't winning. Fail by not implementing it. If I'm no longer pro-choice, and I'm not fighting for abortion rights and healthcare rights, then I'm not losing anything. I mean, what the fuck is he talking about? What happens if you win, but you don't run on anything except for power? What do you do with it? All of a sudden you're magically.
Well, but then you get power, and the guy you elected because he's anti-abortion is somehow going to flip over to our side, is his magical fucking strategy, which we know how that works. Those people, the flip votes, have all the power in the world. That's why you don't let a Fetterman in your party who is, a Joe Manchin.
No, or Fetterman. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
His strategy is what they've been doing all along.
Yeah, his strategy is the opposites of Kshama Sawant's. Like literally, you could not get more opposite than this guy.
And
who knows nothing about winning. Strategically, his ideas have been shit from the get-go.
It's exactly that's what Gore was. That's what Kerry was. That's what Hillary Clinton was. That's what Biden, Biden was not going to win, let's face it, until everybody dropped out. COVID, there was a, Black Lives Matter. There was a confluence of once in a lifetime sort of events that came together that propelled him to victory. He would not have normally won. So, and then, lost right again to the fascist, Trump. This is abundance. This is deregulate and move right. Jesus Christ. I hate this guy.
Well, and he's saying that Susan Collins won because she's more liberal. That's even going against his own belief. What he just said doesn't even match,
When he said "fuck your party," but you're right. You're right that logically,
she's more Republican. She's not more progressive leftish. He's not saying.
Well, he's saying that she's doing something slightly different from her party in order to win in Maine, and so Democrats need to do something slightly different. They need to move right, just the way she moved left. But the truth is, the majority of the country wants there to be female reproductive rights. So she needed to do that to get in line with what people want in this country, not just to buck her party. The failed logic there only serves. Fucking hate
it. They will twist all the logic into any way to just not be progressive at all. That's the whole point of Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein is here to attack socialism, communism, progressivism, to deny us health care, to deny us increasing minimum wage. That's his whole goal.
Jesus. Thanks, Jared. Okay, I clicked and we're both clicking at the same time. So okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Let's finish off his nonsense here.
Yes.
Trans people. We are failing to protect immigrants. We are failing to protect everybody we say we are here to protect. And we are failing to protect them because we have lost power. And I think losing power in that way and failing in the way we have and watching the consequences be as bad as they have been should force us in a disciplined fashion to ask, what do we need to do to win it back? And that means expanding the map.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
So
yeah, we both clicked it.
Well, no, I think if we elect a few anti-trans people to Congress,
then you have power.
That should help trans people. If we elect a few anti-abortion people, that should really help the abortion people. That's when you cut through what he's saying, that's what he's saying.
It's absurd. We had power. Listen, they run on all of this stuff, and that's what helps them win. Barack Obama ran on abortion rights. He ran on a public option for healthcare. And then he got in with a supermajority and said, not really my priority anymore. We're not going to do,
right away.
We're not going to protect any of these things. So like, he's got it completely inverted. They lose power because they run on things that are immensely popular, and then they don't do it. And it's not because they don't have power to do it. It's because they don't give a fuck because they were just pleasing their donors. Like, I can't imagine that anybody really believes this anymore.
Well, they don't. And when they poll people on this whole abundance theory, everyone is like, I fucking hate it. What are you doing? And the Democrats are still trying to hang to this theory, hang on to it, even though it's a flop. It's an utter flop. This guy's book is a flop. He wrote a whole book on it.
He's still making, I wonder how many millions of dollars from the New York Times. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, he's going to get funded, ad nauseum if you have an alternative explanation for some strategy that doesn't involve going left as a party. So this is all they can come up with as the Democratic Party is this guy and his cohort on the book. Who co-wrote the book with him?
They're brothers. It's Thompsons. Derek Thompson and Alex Thompson are the Thompson brothers.
Yeah,
making their mother proud.
Yeah, is he married to a Republican? Because that would be the perfect asterisk to this whole thing. Just like he's replacing old bald guy we were just talking about. What's his name? Carville.
Yep.
Because James Carville, who Kshama
Mary
Sawant
Matlin.
up,
Yep.
was married.
Mary Matlin
is still married to a Republican strategist. So if you think you're going to get class solidarity via Democrats, when in his own house he's married to the devil on the other side.
Yeah.
And they're both the top strategists of their parties. I mean, they were at one point.
Just gross.
Like, come on.
Are you pushing play or am I?
Oh, no. We played it
out.
Are
we done? Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get rid of that one. That was horrible.
Goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye. Okay. So let's just really quickly. Oh, we also have a Schumer clip. Let's show the first one. This is with what's his name, Aaron Parnos, some like Dem operative guy. It's short, but then the other one Pat will share. Our leaders who are going to avert a government shutdown. Yeah, go ahead.
And he was asked about fighting Trump is the question. How are you going to fight Trump? What do you got to do different to fight Trump is the question before this.
And we're also dealing with the social media, which we didn't do enough of, frankly, in the past. And that was a mistake, and we're trying to rectify it.
He's on the job. Okay.
Social media.
I mean, if you feel taken care of. Okay, let's see what he has to say. I think this was today on Meet the Press, right?
Yeah, and this one was asked specifically about Trump bringing federal troops into fight with ICE and help support people in Portland. Right?
Yeah, which by
military
the way,
forces.
Just a month ago, they said, don't talk about Trump's military takeover. It is a distraction. And now let's hear what they have to say.
Anything you can do to stop it as in Congress?
Yes. First, we will fight it in the courts along with, people who will file suits. But second, I would hope, Kristen, that some of our Republican colleagues I know they're loyal to Trump and does whatever he wants, but This is so far stepping over the line that I'd hope some of them would join us in legislation to prevent it from happening. We have such a proposal. I'm part of it.
Couple good Republicans.
Can you
Couple of good
imagine?
Republicans.
That's the strategy now. It's the, this political cartoon. Unhappy with Trump's latest dictatorial moves. We used unhappy before. Let's go with troubled. I mean, this is their strategy, is just putting it out there.
A couple
into the
Nazis defect, and that we don't have to go to war because we'll just get a couple defected Nazis. And his first strategy is also failed. If there's one thing the courts have proven, is that they move slow, and that by default, whatever happens at the lower court level gets appealed to the Supreme Court, which then says, just go ahead and keep it the way it was, and we'll decide it down the road, which is like a year or something before it's going to hit the court.
Or Trump ignores it, and there's no enforcement capability.
Right. So his first plan is the courts. His second plan is good Republicans.
Aces. Awesome. And, so what they're fighting about with the government shutdown. So they're having a meeting. This was the whole thing that they were haranguing Trump about last week. Oh, he's, Trump always chickens out. He's scared to meet us, or he's not a king. So they're meeting tomorrow at the White House. Apparently Netanyahu is coming to the White House also tomorrow. Interesting. And like their big ask is the tax, not the incentives, the rebates or the extra help from the government for healthcare, especially in the poorest states, but all over the country, because people are going to be thrown off Medicaid. Local clinics will shut down, which so many of them have already shut down. That will also be a reproductive rights issue, because there will be fewer clinics, which again have been happening all along. And I wish one journalist would say, isn't it time for us to join the 31 other industrialized countries in the world that have single payer healthcare? Like, why don't you support that? Because then you wouldn't have any of this. Then we wouldn't have to hear, oh, the government shut down. I've got a constituent who's fighting cancer and the government shuts down. Then he won't be able to do his copays. Like, that is a disgusting statement that you're even saying that out loud. You're holding your constituents hostage by never fighting for universal rights like healthcare, which is a human right, or housing, or food, or education. Like, these things we all need to survive and to make a thriving country, a free America. They never fight for any of that. And so they just hold us all hostage. But like, no journalist never pushes back. Why is it? Why does he have a copay? Wait, we're the richest country in the world. What? We have a copay? What's going on? What have you been doing in Congress for the last 50 years? Fucking asshole.
Yeah. And we know the answer. It's because just like we have one party, the capitalist party, we have a capitalist media. That's it. At the end of the day, if their journalist did a whole hour-long segment on why we should have Medicare for all, that person's gone.
Yeah.
If they had some permission somehow to get it on air, they're gone. But even if they went to work on that project, they're going to be fired.
I mean, it is just, thank you, by the way, for supplying me with the word loner weirdo subsidies. That's what I meant.
Loner weirdo.
You can tell I've had my 2 glasses of wine. I'm about to pour a third. Yeah, I mean, it is, it always comes back to the parameters that they wouldn't have that job. It's not that anybody, it's from manufacturing consent with Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky. It's like, it's not that anybody necessarily says to them up front, don't ever talk about universal healthcare. It's that they wouldn't even have that job if they were hungry to expose the corruption.
Exactly. That's the whole point. You don't move up the food chain fighting the people, the narrative that the media wants out.
Yeah.
And just like the chorus group that got caught taking all this Democratic money, it's like, some of them spoke out a little bit about Palestine, but like, they were hand chosen for their views beforehand. Like, that's the whole point, is let's funnel in some podcast money to people that completely agree with the Democratic Party. And maybe one or two went a teeny bit off the rails, but that's it. The rest of them are getting big money to just push the party narrative.
And as you said, as I said, as Kshama was saying, like, it's all in service then of funneling people back in. Like, yes, we hear you, we see you, the genocide is really bad. We even have some people representing your views, but in the end, you can't vote for anybody but the Democratic nominee. Doug Grinbergs, thank you so much. Obstruct, resist, health insurance, mafia, extortionist. Yes, please do.
Health insurance, please. That really is the biggest way out of this thing. I mean, we can't wait for it, but like, if we ever got health care, we could then go on to seriously fight for some real issues. I mean, that's a real one on its own, but like, so many people are strapped and hurting that without health care, with the risk of losing their health care, is enough to keep a lot of people silent, especially when you've got the AI people scrubbing the media, scrubbing our social media, going after us. The Israelis have taken over all of our social media's screening content. They own TikTok. That's the next move. So we're all at risk of losing our job all the time is the point. So that's where they want us.
And the tactics, you know, all the things that Trump was saying. I mean, there was another mass shooting at a like a firebomb set on fire at a Mormon church today, right in Michigan. He was a Trumper, of course, but they don't even talk about that, or he used to be, or whatever. But another right-wing person. But they used both Trump and JD Vance talking about, you know, all this talk about how ICE agents and our cops and National Guard are Nazis, and they are using Nazi tactics. It's disgusting. We have like tons of videos just from the last 3 days of the way they are treating people, many of whom, they shouldn't treat anybody like this, but many of whom are US citizens. So now they're asking for papers of US citizens. They're banging down doors. That is Nazi behavior. You know what else it is? It's IDF behavior. I mean, it is one of the very first videos that we showed coming out of the West Bank right after October 7th was a woman who had just it was just like thoughts and prayers to Gaza or something. It was a very benign statement of just like, my prayers are with you. And the IDF came like, you know, banging at her door. They had seen her WhatsApp or some of the social media posts that she did. And we're having that here right now. So like, yeah, it is Nazi Gestapo techniques, but those are being used by Israel. So yeah, it's all like, that was the Petri dish. That was the lab. That was the, like, how are we going to use AI, the policing techniques of the IDF, and like the little Gaza that is like a model for our cop cities around this country. That was all tested first on Palestinians. It's really fucking scary.
Yeah. And I feel like we should show that video of the ICE.
Yeah.
Just the abuse you'd mentioned earlier with Kshama.
Yeah.
And the important part, which you brought up, is that the allegations are 2 years old from this facility. So 2 years old predates Trump. And this is ICE abusing the shit out of people. We could have described the story, but this news clip kind of sums it up really well.
Of rampant sexual abuse of immigration detainees at an ICE facility here in Acadiana.
And those accusations are contained in this newly filed civil rights complaint with the U.S. Office of Homeland Security. Now, that misconduct reportedly taking place at the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center in Basile. The complaint outlines the sexual abuse of a woman and 3 transgender individuals during a 2-year period at the facility. The abuse allegedly occurred on a near daily basis at the hands of the assistant warden, prison officers, and other ICE employees. The complaint also contends that ICE tried to cover up sex abuse complaints and threatened retaliation against the 4 if they talked with investigators. The attorneys that filed the complaint are seeking to have the ICE facility in Basile closed.
2 years. And, you know, that's like, you know, the forced hysterectomies. That was under Trump's first regime. There were a few ICE detainees who came forward to say that there were forced hysterectomies on them, and liberals lost their mind. We all should lose our minds. It's outrageous that that's happening. But what got sort of lost in it was that it had started in 2014, which was under Obama, right? So like, this isn't to take away any of the blame from Trump, but just to really drive home that this is a bipartisan issue. Obama increased ICE's budget by 3,600%, right? He was the deporter in chief. The kids in cages, those cages were built by Obama and Biden. And it just is really sort of devastating that the only time that people wake up to it is when it's under Trump. Like, it's happening. People are suffering even when Trump's not in power.
Even though we're, our normie Dem friends and libs are awake and aware of this stuff now, they're not aware of the fact that one of the biggest threats to us personally is AI, because they're scrubbing our free speech. They're scrubbing, they're scrubbing Twitter, they're scrubbing TikTok, and that's a bipartisan effort. That's why they're not fighting the Republicans hard on this stuff, because they know the biggest pressure, other than these, radical right people, is us radical lefts who want healthcare. Like, they equate us both. We're even us people wanting healthcare and a $25 minimum wage, 35, 50, maybe.
Fight cop cities,
But
fight the genocide, whatever
we're
it
on
is.
par. We're on par with those Nazis as terrorists, and Trump's new list puts us like front and center more so. And Democrats aren't defending us on this at all. They're probably going to co-sign this at some point, but
I mean, it's almost exactly Biden's, right? So I know you put it out here before, but so Ken Klippenstein did the reporting on this, the new directive for the, oh God, what does this stand for? The
NSPM 7.
Yeah, it's I even wrote it down here. 1 second, because National Security Presidential Memorandum, which targets.
I was going to say not socialist.
Yeah, exactly. The Nazi, anti-Christian, anti-American opinions as indicators of extremist violence, authorizing an army of 4,000 counterterrorism officers to prevent crimes that haven't happened. And here they are. Anti-Americanism, which they're saying that if you say anything against Israel, that's against American interests. So like, anti-Americanism has a broad sweep. Anti-capitalism. I mean, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, like, that should not be a part of the government on any level. That's like very fucking wrong right there. But also, there was a little speech that we showed, I think, last week, where Trump was talking about anti-Christian bias. And he's like, we all talk about anti-Semitism, but anti-Christianity is going to become, oh, are you Jewish? Are you Muslim? Are you Buddhist? Are you an atheist? That just like inherently you're anti-Christian. Again,
hey,
I
am actually vocally anti-Christian, but to each their own on it. I respect anyone's religion, but yeah, I'm anti-Christian. I'm anti-capital. I'm anti-American. I mean, I'm anti the way America is running. Doesn't mean I hate America like anyone else, but
like, whatever you are, you should be able to say it without being considered a violent extremist. Support for the overthrow.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I'm just reading, so whatever.
But you got to think about, like, okay, that's 4,000 employees. All the tracking of all of that list is done by AI. It's nothing. So 4,000 employees managing what AI tells them about us is a fucking lot of government. Tracking us.
And they've, it's on all of our phones. All those times that we agree for any app where they make you read all the little stuff and we all like go down and agree, they've already put their their data mining abilities are already on all of our phones, on all of our computers.
They own my VPN, which is supposed to protect my computer, everything. So Israel literally bought up all the top VPNs in the country. They are all owned and managed by Israel, which is, virtual private network, which is supposed to protect you from anyone having access to what you're doing. But Israel owns all of that. And as we know, historically, that ends well.
I mean, Netanyahu made a little joke about it, actually, just 3 days ago. It was super, super funny.
We crippled Hezbollah, taking out most of its leaders and much of its weapons arsenal. You remember those beepers, the pagers? We paged Hezbollah. And believe me, they got the message. We crippled
the terrorist attack that he's bragging about, a terrorist attack. And he also said, you like your cell phone? We made all your cell phones. I mean, that is him telling everybody, we have a way to target all of you. That is
the same group that bragged about the pager attacks, like literally is like in charge of our phones now. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? It's I'm not saying I'm worried about my phone blowing up, but like maybe I should be.
Listen, I mean, you're Hamas. Are you a Hamas supporter? Do you support Hamas? Have you condemned Hamas? Are you like, who knows? They can say anything. We're all terrorists, right?
I am so Hamas at this point, according to their AI.
They are very clear that most of the world is actually. And we're
I
like,
check.
Yeah.
Do I check every box? Probably. Hopefully. I mean, honestly, hopefully. This is if you check all these boxes and you're a socialist kind of person, get at me. You're
Antifa.
Let's talk.
That's you. We're all Antifa. Yeah, you're against fascism. Exactly. All right, so just to run down the rest of the list really quickly, because then we've got, the comparison is extremism on race, extremism on migration. I mean, this is all so vaguely defined. None of it means whatever they want it to mean. They'll kill us the way they killed that. Like, and also, but look at what Trump just did. He has now air drone striked 3 different boats off the coast of Venezuela. And we don't know what they were doing. He just makes it up.
But what is extremism on race if you're a white supremacist, right? So it's not people who are white supremacists. Extremism on race is like Black Lives Matter, right? Yeah. That's it. Wanting equal rights to everybody else. That's a problem. So, but even take the extreme like land back or whatever, like, I don't know, like what is that?
If you want to do, like talk about the historical context of what, structural racism, DEI.
Right, yeah, I mean, obviously this is all a list to just go after everyone left, but I mean, like, I want the explanation of what you think that means, Donald Trump, just so we get some clarification on this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to me. I do watch Breaking Points quite often, and every once in a while, every once in a while, Sagar will say something I agree with. And then if he ever talks about race or trans people or pot or weed, whatever the young people say now, whatever, like, here he is on a show that is, I think, on some level considered to have some of the bigger lib left voices with Ryan Grimm and Crystal Ball, who, I appreciate and like a lot of what they say. And I think Ryan Grimm's reporting on Gaza and Palestinians with Scahill is really tremendous. But like, they're sitting in a room with somebody who espouses truly despicable views on immigrants and race studies and trans people. Like, it's really hard to wrap my head around. Like, it's pretty extreme, actually, his views. And he just gets to sit there and show up at work in a suit and everybody gets along. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. Okay. Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality. I don't know. I don't know if Trump embodies a single one of those views that they are espousing to be the traditional ones. Do as I say.
All of his religious crap is nonsense. I don't believe for a second he gives a single rat's ass about any of the religion.
No, not at all.
So, but
it's just an excuse.
I would rather he be openly anti-religion, of course. But I mean, we know that he's leveraged that to get the evangelical support, and that's his link to supporting Israel still. And the future of the Republican Party is running on evil. So this is a stronger bond with Christian government and traditional values, and that's where government is right now. It's like they're running on Democrats are evil, and they are, but not for the reason you think. It's not because they're anti-Christian, but that's the whole platform of the Republican Party going forward, is that the Democrats are evil.
Yeah. And then just as a reminder that Biden's, 2021 domestic violent extremist list was very similar when it comes to climate and capitalism and abortion rights and animal rights. And, it's just a real bipartisan effort. Should we spin the wheel? Because then I think maybe we want to show some of the other ICE videos that are horrific, or I don't know. I mean, we have so many different ways we could go. We have a bunch of Israel stuff.
I think we should just handpick a law, which I think people need a law. Which wouldn't you like more, Gianmarco or Zach?
Oh boy, let's make sure we get to both, because they're both timely, but we can just do, because they're both like about sort of the current stuff. So Gianmarco Cerese did one on Jimmy Kimmel coming back. We showed his tearful apology when he returned to his nightly show this past Tuesday. And this is Gianmarco Cerese's take on it. And probably everybody should get a little bit of a refill or another hit of whatever you're doing.
I love watching your TikTok, which is next level. And clearly that's expressed by my 13-year-old son.
No, God, please, no, 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 no.
I will never forgive Donald Trump for making me watch Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, oh, God. I don't know what I was expecting. I was like, yeah, he's gonna come back, he's gonna kick ass. 3 minutes in, he's fucking crying, and I'm like, God damn it, we suck, dude. Because I don't know. I feel like liberals, they have just enough empathy to be tricked by con men, but not enough to care about the children in Palestine, and it's a very frustrating thing. Because he's crying, and it's like, sure, you can cry about one person being shot, but that person's being used for propaganda. They said they want to make coins with Charlie Kirk's face on it. It's like, that's not America. Normally we wait a couple years before putting a dead white supremacist on our money. I thank you. That's a good one. Yeah. That's how you can tell it's a good one. No one laughs and someone says, "That's a good one." It's a good one. It's a good one. I don't know what I was expecting. Listen, I could never do late, and I'd be fired immediately. I'd want to say all this shit, but I don't like how Jimmy Kimmel had to be like, he's like, I gotta hand it to Ted Cruz. Because Ted Cruz was like, the government shouldn't censor. Why do you have to hand it to Ted Cruz? Just, if he says something good, that's great. You don't have to bring it up, though. Like it's a fucked up guy. I don't care if he says one thing right. I don't need to fucking acknowledge it. It's like my dad. He visited me here, and he's like, we got to go to this Italian restaurant. He said, I heard it's Woody Allen's favorite Italian restaurant. And I'm like, you got to find a different guy. You can't. You hear it's Woody Allen's favorite restaurant. I assume the meat's undercooked.
He's good, right? I like him a lot.
He is good.
Yeah, he's good. All right. Do we, okay. This I thought was really interesting. I know we're doing our famous bob and weave here, but this is Jennifer Welch. We've shown clips of her before, and I don't know why all of a sudden she's become like, her podcast is wildly popular. She was an actress, I think, and she's pretty like straight and narrow Democrat. I don't think she would consider herself left Democrat, but she is anti-genocide, anti-APAC, pro get your ass out and support Mamdani, who, like when the leaders of the Democratic Party aren't. Like she's she's sort of the antithesis to Ezra Klein, who's so like squishy and trying to push everybody far to the right. She feels more like a wine mom who's like, what the fuck? Get out there and do what you're supposed to do in ways that I really appreciate. So she is in a red state. I don't know where. She is interviewing Jeff Duncan. She does a better job than any cable pundit I've seen.
Will you take AIPAC money, or have you taken AIPAC money?
I'm not certain if I've taken it or not. I've been in office 10 years. It doesn't jump out at me as I'm taking it, but
never heard of
I think the most important part
will you for this race?
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Okay, come on, Jeff. This is like, there's a genocide going on right now. In even human rights, Israeli human rights groups see this, that the United States of America is funding.
To see these kids starving.
And to not know if you're going to be beholden to the Israeli lobby is to me is not something that should take time to think about, because you started off this interview with us talking about your faith.
It is.
Will you take AIPAC money in this race?
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Wow. Okay, I want to take that moral clarity that you have right there and then ask you again, are you going to take money from AIPAC? Because just there you talked about, and AIPAC is what helped. They gave Trump over, I think, $200-300 million. Are you going to take money from a group that lobbies to deny that that's happening to those children?
I'm not going to give you the shallow answer of saying yes or no, because
if you can have moral clarity to talk about the starvation, the famine, and the genocide, then it's a very easy jump to then just say across the board, you wouldn't believe how popular you'd be, Jeff. You just wouldn't believe how popular you'd be if you said, I am not taking money from AIPAC.
We'll certainly continue to look at it.
But I hope that you do. Jeff, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you can report back to us sometime soon that you've thought about these AIPAC donations and that you will not accept them and partner with them in this, because I think that you will have so much more credibility. And how uncomfortable did I make you? I was kind of all in. I wish that people would have more rigorously, done this with our politicians and called him out more directly. I mean, I think I'm teeing him up for what's about to happen.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. And our journalists journalists in cable news and corporate news, they will never do that unless it's Trump. Like, they only will ever treat Trump that way because that's the only person they feel like they have permission to do. And Kimmy, I see you're saying that. I saw that she was on, but I haven't watched it. I was going to mention. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me.
I was going to mention that I saw some of that interview with Hassan, and like, she's very lib to her core, I think, but like she's not party owned lib, I think is how I kind of get the vibe from her. But she's just being real about it. Like, hey, you want to win. She's like what Ezra Klein would want if he had values of like,
right.
It's all about winning. Just listen to her.
Yeah.
Because she's giving you the roadmap to win.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and for any politician to be in front of any journalist and sort of act like he doesn't really know about AIPAC money.
Oh my God.
Just proves you're like right out the gate, you're lying. Yeah. You are lying. You need to be called out on it.
Yeah.
Like, who was the den the other day that was like, oh, it was, geez, I can't remember now. I can't remember his name. But anyway, they're exposed all the time, pretending they don't know about AIPAC's power when they're the most powerful lobbying group in all of fucking Congress. Like, fuck off.
And also, you do know who, like, even, let's just say, which would never happen, but like, let's say they didn't know that they're taking it, they don't know, then you can still say, I hope I'm not, I'm going to look into it because I do not want to take any money from AIPAC. I absolutely am disgusted by our complicity in this genocide. Like, you could say something strong, and clearly he knew. And the fact that she keeps going after him, I really respect that. So I've had it podcast Jennifer Welch.
Because we have to make it more painful for them to take AIPAC than to not take AIPAC money.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. They know what they're doing. They know there is a risk. That's our political system. You will get AIPAC money spent against you.
Right.
If you come out against AIPAC. So he's trying to protect his political career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's not what we need. We don't need the guy in there all about his own political move. We need Kshama Sawants who are like, fuck that money.
Yeah. Nobody comes in and gets better. Nobody comes in on a wave of genocidal money and then becomes somehow morally principled. All right. Well, as long as we're in that, we should just show that Netanyahu came to the UN on Friday, and first of all,
Super popular.
Yeah, super popular. And I will say about Zohran Mamdani, still is saying out loud to the public, why isn't he being arrested? For every second he's here, people are being slaughtered. Trump should be arresting war criminal, genocide maniac Benjamin Netanyahu. This was the response by the other nations in the UN.
Some in the crowd there that was motivated.
Order in the hall.
And he will take the speech. We will listen to it here, and we'll have analysis for you on the other side.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall.
All right, what you're seeing here is the big walkout from the UN General Assembly, Sandra, because this actually has happened before to Prime Minister Netanyahu. You can see that the applause is coming from the Israelis as they sit there and watch these individuals decide that they can't sit and listen to a speech.
And trying to get order as Benjamin Netanyahu looks ready to deliver his speech. He is watching on.
I loved it. Not that it matters that much, but okay. So I just want to say Massey is probably the best Republican on foreign policy, but he lost no time after Charlie Kirk's murder saying the left is evil. It's just like, I agree. And I feel like, one thing I had wanted to talk to Kshama Sawant about, and then, there were so many other ways that we went, and she was saying so many fantastic things. So I didn't want to mire us down in it, but the split on the left that happened with the Rage Against the War Machine and the LaRouche people and the Boogaloo crowd and like a lot of people who seem to be like RFK Jr. adjacent or, like Nick Brana, sexual assault perpetrators who were there and like forming that rally and being like headliners. What does that do when you like there's certain people that we can make alliances with? I don't know. There are a lot of lines that get blurred, and I think and I don't think she was there, so that wasn't like me implicating her in it, but like when her clarity seems so thoroughly pervasive in everything she does that I imagine, she wouldn't have spoken there, or she might have said something when she did or chosen a different tactic. But like, I do wonder as we decide which people we can associate with or make certain pacts with. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a big split for the left. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, COVID was a big split too, which allowed a lot of the people in that world to take people even farther with him, which they used RFK Jr. for mostly, and it's a tough one. I mean, I don't think you should necessarily say no to speaking at an event because there's one guy that's bad there, but when you platform several of these bad people for an issue.
Yeah.
And if you watch the event, these people had a lot of time and they went off the rails, didn't stay focused on the event. They were preaching all their politics, which is their point. They've got a big leftist audience. They're trying to pull them right. So you got to look beyond the issue. And And look, the bare minimum is seeing people as people, not being a fucking racist piece of shit, you know, not
Yeah.
being ableist, not like that core stuff. Don't ally with people. Yeah, we want them to vote for it. Yeah, I'll talk to my racist uncle or something as an example.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to let my racist uncle speak at the wedding.
Yeah.
You know, or
yeah, or join forces to like stage a whole rally with people who like on every other issue are pretty
and I never see any of these people that were involved in this on the left go on right-wing shows and pull people left. They just focus on the right stuff they agree with, and they're totally controlled by these right people who have them on as a leftist.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, I just think it's funny. We never hear about those ever important Boogaloo boys. We never hear about them. That was, the whole crowd that went anti-COVID, anti-climate, anti-woke. They were insistent that we had to somehow have a big enough tent on the left to include the Boogaloo boys while they threw trans people and COVID conscious people under the bus. So it's interesting to see how that all happened.
Which you should see the Democratic Party loved all of that because they abandoned all those issues. And these people that went right on this are more in line with the Democratic Party than we are.
Yep.
So fuck you is my first thought.
Yeah, that's basically my only thought on all of it. I was
all right.
Yeah.
In summary.
All right, let's do a little more Israel, and then we should probably,
skedaddle.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I
so
said
here,
skedaddle to my black boss the other day, and he looked at me like skedaddle, and it was the widest thing that's ever coming out of my mouth. I'm just
is that like a malarkey? Is that like a Joe Biden malarkey thing? Skedaddle.
It's not something I even say, but I was just like
came out
something skedaddle.
That white, you cannot push it down. I didn't know that was a white thing.
Where did that come from?
That's so funny. Anyway. All right. So here is the one of the Israeli spokespeople, David Mencer, being questioned outside of the UN after the response that Benjamin Netanyahu got.
One final one briefly. I mean, this body here, the United Nations, and hundreds of legal experts have come to the conclusion that what you're doing in the Gaza Strip is an act of genocide. What is your reaction to that? Does it make you feel shame? Does it make you reflect on what's been going on? Or do you just think, well, the international community is lying?
Matt, I'll tell you how I feel as a representative and a spokesman of Israel's government. I feel pride.
Pride?
I mean, they're not even trying to help their reputation around the world. Like, you have Benjamin Netanyahu laughing about a pager terrorist attack. You have, Jonathan Greenblatt will show about, anti-Semitism on the rise and how we have to monitor all of social media, along with the left candidate of opposition against Netanyahu.
Declaring it's the plan. The plan is to take over our social media.
Yair Golan. So that's your left, lib, whatever, that we have to police everybody. It's pretty frightening.
Yeah, and this is where you need an opposition party to this shit, and there isn't one. And that's why we are all in deep shit if we don't rise up on our own somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a really important aspect that's very different, with like right away when Russia invaded Ukraine, Russian artists, Russian athletes, Russian performers, Russian books written 100 years ago were banned in the US and lots of European countries, which I had a real problem with because most of the Russian people at that time were pretty vocally not in favor of the invasion. And also that is a situation, not to sound like all the Zionist explainers or, sympathizers who say, oh, it's complicated, but like Russia and Ukraine is a much more complicated situation, I think, than Israel and Palestinians. But right away, they were banned from everything. And I really disagree with that. In this case, something like 98% of Israelis are in support of this genocide and exterminating a group of people who they have been indoctrinated and now agree with are subhuman. So
exactly. And all you have to do is listen to their leaders directly. It's not like we're extrapolating this from some sort of conspiracy theory. It's just like right out of their mouths. They're all going after our social media. They're all proud that they are committing this genocide. They want everyone dead in Palestine.
They don't think they're going far enough. Yeah. And also it's the people who voted them in and who support them, but to a very, like, seriously, above 90%. It's not like the US is, when we have Trump in power or George W. or Obama or Biden, whatever, we're often pretty much like, 51-49, whatever, a little here and there. No, this is a nation that is almost entirely supportive of a genocide. So that has to be rejected at a massive scale by the whole world.
Yeah. And we just had Democrats signing off, 30 Democrats signed off to condemn countries that are recognizing Palestine now. That's what we're doing in the face of all this overt fascism and genocide and our complicity in it. 30 Democrats thought, I don't care what my supporters think at all. Because none of their supporters, on the numbers don't back up this being a popular issue for them. So they just don't care. That's why capitalism needs to be turned on its fucking head.
Yeah.
But the 30 Democrats, let's see, who are they? I don't know. We could read some of these numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. We clipped it and then
these names, excuse me.
Small. It is, well, of course, we've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We need Jen Perlman to take her on again. We've got, I'm looking for people like whose names we, are, oh, whoops. Okay.
Oops. I'm sorry. Eric Swalwell, Ted Lieu.
Are you serious? Eric Swalwell? I mean, of course he is, but like, I'm actually sort of surprised. I thought he would like try a little bit more to protect his, Wesley Bell, who, wait, is Wesley Bell the one who ousted oh my God, Cory Bush?
I don't know. But for 30 Democrats to sign off on this is just disgusting in the face of all this. But we should show the videos we talked about. These two clips are just really telling, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm not pushing anything.
Okay, here's here they are. Here's Yair Golan, who's as you mentioned, the opposition party, the liberalish candidate in Israel.
The next thing we will do, is to put restriction on the social media in a way that not allowed to make brutal propaganda in the social media. Because this is a worldwide problem. And it should be initiated by the United States of America, the place where all the big firms is settled. Facebook and X and all the rest. This is a major problem for democracy all over the globe. And we need to treat it seriously. We can do it.
And they've done it. And that was, by the way, the whole TikTok sale that they pretended it was because they were so worried of China and algorithms, even though like we talked about the actual data retention was like in Texas or something. But that happened under Biden, and Democrats rubber stamped it and having to crack down on social media. And now they've handed it over to some of the biggest Zionists in the world, who also, Larry Ellison, happens to be the richest man in the world, who is the largest individual donor to the IDF. And now he's in control, and his son, of TikTok. And, you know, yeah. So
yeah, and you gotta look at that at the same time as Trump puts out this tweet, or, you know, this mission statement of going after all these groups as terrorists. And so now if you're on
National
TikTok,
Security Presidential Memorandum.
yeah. So you're going to get, but that's permission for all the groups in our government to target that list, legal or not, coming from the president. That's sort of like a, hey, you guys go get those people, right? That's a legal. It's not legislation, but it's still like, it's sort of almost like a ruling from your top chief it's okay to do this stuff, right?
Yep.
So, you know, when they start scrubbing all of our social media, and the guy that owns TikTok is going to report everybody who's posting something pro-Palestine or anti-ICE, or, you know, some guy's just he's too anti-Christian for us, because, you know, we need Christianity and Zionism to be like this, or we have no chance.
And Democrats are writing very strongly worded tweets. It's really crazy. Yeah. Jen Perlman, we just invoked you. Maybe you showed up because we were just saying that one of the people who signed, one of the Democrats who signed against the recognition of a Palestinian state is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You need to take her down. You got to take her down. Do it. But yeah, they sound like Nazis. They actually proudly proclaim that they are going to do to Palestinians what Nazis did to Jews. I mean, they have said those words out loud. They are proud of it. So they are the Ubermenschen now.
This is an Israeli podcast it's called Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast. Let's hear from the two nice Jewish boys.
If you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis,
if that's the choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, even if it's not like right now.
Yeah, no.
I would press it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The same with the territories.
Give me that button and press it right now.
There you go.
And I think most Israelis would.
Yeah. Most Jewish Israelis.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't talk about it like I am.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't say I pressed it, but they would press it. Right? Like if they were in a closet alone, they wouldn't even hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
Someone came to them and said, "No one will know. You press this, all the Palestinians are gone." You'd be like, "Fucking hey, is there another one?"
Imagine talking like that openly.
And you know, oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't hear you. You were going in and out, so I didn't know if you're saying.
Oh, I just imagine talking about that openly and that being accepted, and this being a popular podcast in your country, while the world is accusing you of a genocide.
But I mean, yeah, it's disgusting, and yet I feel like we can totally imagine it. We're not at genocide yet, but like what we see ICE agents doing to people every single day, like the dehumanization, the calling them, you know, there's like this reporter who in New York talking about in this leaked audio through a Freedom of Information law request, the Cayuga County Sheriff's Department provided the body camera footage from the officers on scene this day. This was in New York. So New York, one of the agents discussed his time working with ICE. I would not let anybody out of their cells or in an ICE detention center. I would not let anybody out of their cells. So we did it in an orderly fashion, had them all lined up. It's bathroom time or it's fucking brush your teeth time or it's food time. Other than that, nope, your ass is staying in there. But you can't do that. No, I absolutely can. I need a phone call. No, you don't. I need to go to medical. Nope, you look good to me, the agent said, mimicking a conversation with a person detained. He continued to say that they kept the bathrooms inside the cells where people were held. They're animals anyway. That's what I would tell my kids at the time, said the agent, who said he worked in the intelligence unit. So this is how we are treating people, like whole human beings. There is so much video of the treatment where, you know, this guy, this car wash owner in Los Angeles is suing for like, I think $50 million or something, which I want to show, but I think a lot of people have seen that. This one, though, was crazy because these ICE agents who are battering in these kids' door have no warrant, and they do not care that they're being told you need a warrant.
I want to see the warrant. You guys gonna see how they're gonna come in. They don't want to show us the warrant. They don't want to show us the warrant. We have to see the warrant.
Ma'am, you're watching too much movies. We'll show you the warrant when we're done.
No, let's see it. Let's see it. No. They're taking my husband. They don't want to show us the warrant. It's not a killer. He's nothing like that. We have 5 kids. Why? Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands! Drop the phone! Turn around! Turn around! Turn around! Turn around! Don't move! Come back to the cell, my boy!
Drop the phone. Like the phone is a gun or something. Drop the phone.
You've been watching
too
many.
If she doesn't drop the phone.
Yeah, we don't need a warrant. You've been watching too many movies. I mean, they are trying to show us that, you know, there's nothing we can do to fight against this, which is why, you know, just to go back, because I know we're almost at the end of our time, to go back to what Kshama said, because I feel like I so often go into my sort of pessimistic, like, how are people supposed to do this? Nobody has money. We don't have healthcare. That was the whole plan. Like, we don't get any of that if we don't do it. So like, we have to show up, create these parallel economies of mutual aid and bartering and community and resistance, like true resistance, not pink pussy hat resistance, but like
we need networks. We've got networks of people tracking and following ICE. We need that. We need more of it, you know, as far as the ICE part in particular goes. But as far as the strikes go, you know, I think we need to disavow ourselves of needing things to be perfect. We don't need things to be perfect. We need to be ready and support a targeted strike in whatever nature we can. Because we're going to see, before we see a big general strike, we're going to see a lot of little, like, this industry, support them, give them your money, keep these people in jobs, let's pay for their health care, because their health care is the thing keeping them on the strike line. So we're going to provide an alter healthcare system for these people, or, you know, we need more of that. Sorry, the mic's fucking up.
I
again.
know your mic is kind of fucked. We do need that. We do need that. But I think there has to be a way to get out there before, like, I think we can't wait, because and I'm sorry, because I can't remember who it was who pointed it out way earlier in the chat, is that pretty soon many of our jobs are going to be replaced by AI anyway, and then it really won't matter if we put our hands in our pocket and stop the flow of capital, right? So like, we need a strike fund. Gwen C with LC, who's been an amazing, she's doing amazing work with mutual funds and easily accessible QR codes. We really need to support that sort of organizing and mutual aid, because we have to get out there. We have to get to the streets. Okay, we are at 7:30. We should really go. Wednesday, we have, and this is thanks Jen Perlman, Revolutionary Change Network had Matthew Solomon on a few weeks ago, and we have been corresponding. He is a director of documentaries in Los Angeles. He has a brilliant documentary, Reimagining Safety, on abolition and defunding police and how truly to bring safety to our communities. He is coming on Wednesday night. We are very excited to have him. And yes, Alt UBI. Sorry. Thank you, Gwen. That's it. Alt UBI. So look for that on. I'm sorry, because I don't have a link to you right now, but it's such a brilliant idea to organize to help everybody access funds when we're in dire need. So, okay. Wednesday, Matthew Solomon. Cheers to Kshama Sawant. If you're able to support her campaign in any way, this is a national candidacy that would really, I think, infuse the left with so much hope. And
it's a game changer. It's a game changer, and it won't be money misspent on a risky Democrat who could sell us out. We know that much from her history.
Yeah. If you've stopped donating because you were really frustrated by what the pretend left did, this is a time to get back in if you do have any spare money or time to help do organizing or any sort of campaigning for her.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Flotilla is a couple days away from Gaza. They are being attacked and monitored constantly. We are sending all of our huge love and gratitude to them and to Palestinians who are enduring something that nobody should ever have to endure. So cheers to all of them. We love you guys. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Yo soy india y es el mejor abuelo que he tenido.
1. Todos me salen.
So my aunt is on the Global Summit Flotilla. She's someone that loves her cat, even though everyone else is scared of it. She also loves nature, culture, and to repair furniture.
Sumaira has always been a helping and smiling person. Shaib has always been a very handy craftsman. He can build and repair almost anything.
He's a son, a brother, an uncle and a friend who decided to act to reduce suffering and bring peace to the Palestinian people.
My younger brother Michael is one of the most compassionate and fair-minded people that I know. My children look to him for guidance often whenever life gets them down, and our 90-year-old mother relies on him, and he takes very, very good care of her.
My wife is on the flotilla. She's one of the most caring human beings I know. She carefully chose a profession to make this world a better place for one of us, little by little.
Yesterday, 91 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces, 76 of them at least in Gaza City, and since dawn this morning, at least 14 more people have been.
There was another one, yeah.
But I'm also quite proud of her because she's doing the right thing and she cares for others.
We as family are very proud of them, even if it was very hard in the beginning accepting their decision.
We worry about him, but most of all, we are proud of him for embarking on this journey.
Hope he returns safe. My mother is looking forward to seeing him again soon.
We're torn about her being there. Well, most of all, I'm incredibly proud because she's doing something that matters.